Chosen one, before anything else, take a slow breath and imagine that you are sitting in the same room, like two older friends who have lived a lot and finally found a quiet moment to talk about what is really going on inside your heart. You have carried so many things alone for so many years that it almost feels strange to hear this sentence spoken directly to you. An angel has confirmed that you will become something much greater than you imagine. Part of you wants to believe it, and part of you looks at your age, your history, your tiredness, and thinks, how could that be about me? But heaven is not careless with words. If this reached you now, in this season, it is because God knows exactly who you are, exactly how you feel, and still chose to say, I am not finished with her yet. Maybe when you look at your life, you see more ruins than promises. You see dreams that never left the paper, relationships that drained you and then disappeared, years that seemed to pass without anyone noticing how hard you were trying just to stay standing. You see the lines on your face, the tiredness in your body, the stories that still hurt when you think about them too long. Sometimes you even tell yourself, it's okay, my time to be something has passed. Now I am just here to help others. But deep inside, under all the layers of resignation, there is a very soft voice that has never died, a little spark that still whispers, there must be more for me than just surviving. That little spark is not pride. It is not illusion. It is a trace of the destiny God planted in you before anyone ever spoke a word about your life. Heaven sees that spark very clearly. When God looks at you, He does not see a woman who is too late, or a woman who missed her chance. He sees every moment He kept you alive when things could have gone another way. He sees every time He protected you from situations you did not even know were dangerous. He sees every time your heart wanted to shut down completely, and somehow, mysteriously, you still found strength to love again, to try again, to get up again. That is why this message comes with the image of an angel confirming your future. Angels are not decorators in spiritual stories. They are witnesses and participants in what heaven considers important. The fact that your journey includes angelic confirmation means your life carries more weight in the spiritual realm than anyone has ever told you. Think about the women in Scripture. It is easy to imagine them as distant and almost perfect, but they were very human, very fragile, very misunderstood. Just like you. Hannah cried until she could not speak, feeling humiliated and forgotten. But heaven was already preparing a child through her, who would be a voice to a whole nation. Ruth walked behind harvesters picking up leftovers, a widow in a foreign land, just trying to make it through another day. And yet God was quietly writing her name into the family line of kings. Esther was a young woman taken into a palace that did not look anything like home. And still, in that strange place, heaven had prepared a moment where her yes would change history. None of them woke up thinking, I will become something great today. They woke up tired, confused, and faithful in small steps. It was God who saw the greatness before they did. Right now, heaven is looking at you in the same way. You may not feel strong, but God sees strength in the way you have not given up. You may not feel wise, but He sees wisdom in the lessons your pain has taught you. You may not feel holy, but He sees how many times you chose to do what was right even when no one was watching. And so, this word comes to you not as a slogan, but as a personal announcement. The story of your life is bigger than what you have been told. There are chapters that have not been written yet, assignments you have not stepped into yet, people who will be touched by God through you in ways you cannot picture right now. As your friend, what rises in my heart is not to push you, but to hold you. You have heard enough voices asking you to be more, do more, give more, endure more. This is different. This is heaven saying, come closer. Let me show you what I see when I look at you. Becoming something much greater than you imagine does not mean becoming someone you are not. It does not mean pretending to be strong when you are not, or copying someone else's calling, or forcing yourself into a role that does not fit your soul. It means becoming fully who you were always meant to be in God's eyes, healed where you were wounded, secure where you were insecure, peaceful where you were always anxious, fruitful where you once felt empty. You might be remembering moments now when you felt something unusual around you, a protection you could not explain, a coincidence that saved you from a bad decision, a dream that stayed with you for years, a word that arrived at the exact second you were about to break. These may have been the fingerprints of heaven and its angels around your story, marking you as someone who would not be allowed to disappear in the crowd. God did not keep you through all of that, just to leave you sitting in the back row of your own life. If He kept you, it is because He intends to reveal through you a version of yourself that even you have not met yet. If, as you listen or read, your chest warms, your eyes fill, or a lump rises in your throat, do not shut it down. That is your heart responding to truth. You do not have to understand everything right now. You do not have to feel ready. You do not have to decide anything big tonight. All that heaven is asking you for, in this beginning, is one small, honest response, right there where you are, in your own words, or even just in your thoughts. You can say something like, God, I don't see yet how this could be true about me, but I want to keep listening. I don't want to close my heart. That is enough. That is a yes. From here, every next part of this journey will simply be God unfolding what He already sees in you. One layer of fear at a time, one lie broken at a time, one new thought planted at a time. And step by step, almost without noticing, you will begin to walk toward the woman heaven has always known you could become, the one an angel came to confirm, the one you are only starting to imagine now. Chosen one, if you are here stepping into this second moment, it already says so much about the quiet courage inside you. You did not just hear a beautiful sentence and walk away. You let it sit in your heart long enough to stir questions, memories, and a kind of gentle ache you cannot fully explain. That alone is part of what proves heaven right about you. You may feel fragile, tired, even skeptical in some corners of your mind. But there is a deeper part of you that is still reaching, still hoping that what was spoken, that an angel confirmed your future, that you will become something much greater than you imagine, could truly be about you. Heaven sees that reach, and it is precious. For a long time, the way you saw yourself was shaped more by disappointment than by promise. You looked at your life through the lens of almost happy, almost healed, almost seen, almost chosen. You got used to thinking that the big stories were for other people with different families, different pasts, different opportunities, different personalities. You were told, directly or indirectly, that your job was to clap for others, to support others, to keep things together in the background. And somewhere along the way, you quietly pushed your own dreams, desires, and sense of calling into a drawer, telling yourself, it's fine. As long as everyone else is okay, I'll manage. This message is heaven gently opening that drawer again, not to overwhelm you, but to remind you. God never agreed to let your life be only about everyone else. Think about how a woman begins to see herself when life has been hard for many years. She starts to count her failures more easily than her victories. She remembers the times she lost control more vividly than the times she showed restraint. She hears the harsh words that were thrown at her louder than the soft ones that tried to comfort her. Over time, she starts to repeat those harsh words to herself. I am too much. I am not enough. I always mess things up. I'm late for everything that matters. Those phrases become a kind of inner narration, running quietly under every decision. In this second part of the journey, heaven is not only comforting you, it is confronting that narration. God is not asking you to pretend that those things never happened. He is asking you to stop treating them as your destiny. Look again at the women heaven highlighted for you. Hannah was known primarily by what she lacked, Naomi by what she lost, Ruth by where she came from, Esther by where she had been taken, the Samaritan woman by her reputation, the woman with the issue of blood by her condition, Mary Magdalene by her past. But God refused to let any of those labels be the final word. He did not erase their history. He reinterpreted it. Their pain became the soil for compassion. Their waiting became the ground for testimony. Their weakness became a place where His strength could be clearly seen. In the same way, God is looking at your story and saying, "You are more than the worst thing that happened to you. You are more than the lowest moment you remember. You are more than the version of you that people decided to keep in their minds." As your friend sitting beside you in this, there is something very important to say. The way you talk to yourself matters deeply for who you will become. If you keep calling yourself names that heaven never gave you, your heart will keep shrinking to fit those words. But if you start, even slowly, to speak to yourself with the same tenderness God is showing you here, your heart will begin to open again. You do not need to stand in front of a mirror and shout big phrases you do not believe yet. You can start small. When you catch yourself saying, "I'm so stupid," you can pause and gently correct it. "No, I made a mistake, but I am learning." When your thoughts say, "I am a burden," you can answer, "I am tired, but I am loved." These little corrections are not self-help. They are agreement with the one who calls you chosen. You might feel a bit of resistance rise up when you hear this. Maybe you think, "I don't deserve to become anything greater. I have messed up too much. I wasted too much time. Others are more capable, more spiritual, more deserving." Heaven knows those thoughts well, and they are precisely the ones this message is meant to challenge. God did not send an angelic confirmation over your future because you have a perfect record. He did it because He has a perfect love. He knows exactly where you have been, and still says, "She is mine. I am not done." The women we talked about were not chosen because they had clean, simple stories. They were chosen in the middle of their complexity. Your complexity does not scare God. It is part of what makes your future testimony powerful. If, as you sit with this, you feel both drawn and afraid, drawn to the idea that you could become more than you ever let yourself imagine, afraid of hoping and being disappointed again, bring that honestly to Him. You can say, in your own simple language, "God, I hear what you're saying, but a part of me is scared to believe it. I don't want to live small, but I don't want to be hurt again. Help my heart." That is not a weak prayer. It is a very strong one, because it is real. And if, somewhere inside, gratitude is starting to rise, even just a little, you might let it turn into a quiet sentence, perhaps only in your thoughts. "For still talking to me like this after everything. Valo demise." That simple thank you, said from a place of vulnerability, is like opening another window in a house that has been closed for a long time. From here on, this second part is about letting God keep rewriting the way you see yourself. Not in one big moment, but in many small ones. Every time you choose to believe that heaven did not make a mistake by sending this message to you. Every time you soften your inner voice instead of attacking yourself. Every time you allow yourself to be treated as someone who matters in God's eyes. You are stepping, even if slowly, toward that something much greater that an angel came to confirm over your life. You do not have to see the full picture yet. All you need right now is what you are already doing, staying, listening, and letting these truths sink deeper than the lies that tried to define you for so long. Chosen one, if you are here entering this third moment, heaven is paying close attention to you. You have listened long enough for this message to press against some very old places inside you. Memories of who people said you were, stories you tell yourself, fears you hardly ever say out loud. And still, you did not close the door. That alone is a sign that the woman you are becoming is not the same as the woman who once decided, "I'm done hoping." You are tired? Yes. You are marked by many things? Yes. But you are also still here, and that still here has more spiritual weight than you realize. By now, you have heard that an angel confirmed your future, and you have felt God beginning to separate your true identity from the history that tried to bury it. In this third stretch, heaven is doing something even more specific. It is breaking the invisible ceiling that has hung over your mind for years. That ceiling is made of quiet sentences you have repeated so often, they almost feel like truth. This is all I'll ever be. Women like me don't go very far. My heart is too damaged to be used. I miss the time when something great could have happened. These thoughts did not appear out of nowhere. They were built from disappointments, comparisons, cold words, and seasons where you felt God was silent. But just because a thought has lived in your mind for a long time does not mean it was born in God's heart. Heaven is inviting you, very gently, to look up. For a long time you have been walking through life with your eyes on the ground, on what went wrong, on what you lack, on how others have run ahead of you. You move carefully, almost afraid to hit the same walls again. But imagine, just for a moment, that above your head there is more space than you believed. Imagine that the ceilings you feel pressing down on you are not made of steel in God's eyes. They are more like fog. Thick, yes, but not solid. His word over you cuts through that fog. When he says you will become something much greater than you imagine, he is not asking you to bang your head against the old ceiling. He is quietly lifting it. Look again at the women who walked before you. The Samaritan woman's ceiling was her reputation. People had already decided what kind of woman she was, and their judgment limited where she walked, when she drew water, how she held herself in public. The woman with the issue of blood had a ceiling made of sickness, ritual impurity, and years of disappointment. Everything and everyone around her said, "You will always be like this." Yet both of them had a moment when they encountered Jesus and did something small but daring. One stayed in a conversation longer than she expected. The other reached out a trembling hand through the crowd. That movement did not only heal their bodies or clear their names, it broke ceilings. They walked away able to stand where they never thought they belonged. As your friend, what needs to be spoken into your heart here is this: you are allowed to question the ceilings that life put above you. You are allowed to say, "Maybe I am not as limited as I was taught to think." You are allowed to admit, "I have lived many years under fear and shame, but I do not have to stay here." This is not about pretending everything is easy or denying your real struggles. It is about refusing to sign your name under every sentence that ever tried to keep you small. When you catch yourself thinking, "I will never change," you can pause and answer, "That is not what heaven said about me." When the thought comes, "I am too old for anything new," you can say, "My age is not a ceiling for God." You may not feel brave when you say it, but each quiet refusal weakens the old structure. You might feel a battle inside right now, hope pulling in one direction, fear pulling in the other. A part of you wants to believe that those ceilings are lifting. Another part warns, "Don't get your expectations up, you know how this goes." Heaven is not angry with you for feeling that. It understands how many times you have been here before. That is why God is not demanding that you jump. He is asking that you walk. One step, one yes, one honest prayer. You can say something as simple as, "God, I have lived under these thoughts for so long. If you are really breaking this ceiling, help me to look up and not go back to staring at the floor." That kind of confession is more powerful than forcing yourself to sound strong. From here on, this third part of the journey is about awareness. Becoming aware of the sentences that have shaped your inner world. Becoming aware of the moments when you are about to agree with something that does not match what heaven has spoken. Becoming aware that there is more space above your head than you feel. Each time you notice and choose differently, even if it is only in the privacy of your thoughts, you are walking as the woman an angel confirmed, not as the woman your fears described. And step by step, almost without realizing it, you will find that the phrase, "something much greater than you imagine," no longer feels like a ceiling you cannot touch. but like a sky that is slowly opening above you. Chosen one, if you are here in this fourth moment, heaven is looking at you with so much tenderness. You have allowed this message to walk through memories, lies, ceilings, and quiet aches that you usually keep hidden. And even when it started to feel raw, you did not run. That, by itself, is already a sign of transformation. You may still feel fragile, but you are not the same woman who pressed play at the beginning. Something in you is softer, more honest, and also a little more awake to the possibility that heaven has truly been paying attention to your life all along. By now, a real inner war may have started to show itself. One part of you feels seen, comforted, almost relieved to hear that an angel confirmed there is more for you. Another part whispers, "Be careful. Do not believe too much. You know how disappointment feels." Heaven is not surprised by this conflict. It expected it. When a heart that has lived many years in survival mode begins to hear about destiny, calling, and becoming something much greater than you imagine, it naturally becomes cautious. You learn to lower your expectations to protect yourself. God is not angry about that. He is simply saying, "Daughter, I know why you built those walls, but I am here now to help you gently take them down." Look again at the women whose stories you have walked alongside in your heart. Mary, a young woman from a simple background, receives a message that seems impossible. She will carry something holy, far beyond what she could comprehend. She is troubled, Scripture says. She does not just say yes without questions. Mary Magdalene, with a heavy past, is entrusted with the news of the resurrection, the greatest announcement in history. Both could have said, "Not me. I am not worthy. I am too small, too marked, too ordinary." Yet heaven chose them anyway, and did not retract its choice when they felt afraid. In the same way, your fear and your questions do not cancel what God has spoken. They simply reveal where He wants to pour more reassurance. As your friend, there is something very important your heart needs to hear clearly. You are allowed to feel this mix of hope and fear, and still be in the center of God's will. Becoming greater than you imagine does not mean becoming unshakable overnight. It means letting God into the places that shake you the most. It means admitting, "I am scared to hope, but I do not want to live numb anymore." It means bringing your doubts into the light instead of letting them eat at you in the dark. You do not impress heaven by pretending to be strong. You move heaven when you are honest. The women God raised were not the ones who had no fear. They were the ones who brought their fear and still allowed Him to work. Right now, your heart might be remembering specific moments. A time you thought you heard God, and then things did not go the way you expected. A season where you felt abandoned. A promise you thought was for you that seemed to fall to the ground. Those memories are the reason a part of you wants to hold back. God knows every one of those moments in detail. He knows what you felt, what you said, what you did not say, and still, He came again, with this message, with this tenderness, with this image of an angel confirming your future. That is not cruelty. That is persistence. He is saying, "I am not finished speaking. I am not finished restoring. I am not finished with you." If while you take all of this in, tears come, or your chest feels heavy, do not shut it down. You can talk to Him exactly from this place. I remember the times I thought something would change and it didn't. I remember the disappointment. I need you to heal that if you want me to walk into this future you're talking about. You can even add, softly, from that deep place in you, "For still coming after my heart like this, even after I pulled away, valeu demais." That small sentence, coming from somewhere honest, is like placing a hand on His and saying, "I feel what you're doing. I may not understand it fully, but I feel it." From here on, this fourth stretch becomes a turning point, not because everything outside will suddenly transform, but because you are choosing a different response inside. Instead of closing the door when hope knocks, you are leaving it slightly open. Instead of assuming every good word is for someone else, you are allowing that it might truly be for you. Instead of letting fear be the only voice, you are letting faith whisper back. This is where the woman who will become something much greater than she imagines is truly formed. Not in the absence of inner war, but in the decision to keep walking with God through it. One honest step, one honest breath, one honest yes at a time. Chosen one, if you are here in this fifth moment, heaven is treating your process with deep respect. You have not just tasted one or two comforting sentences. You have allowed this message to walk with you through shame, fear, memories, ceilings, and fragile hope. And you are still here. That alone already marks you as different from the woman who once decided to just get by. You might still feel broken in places, but you are also braver than you realize. Because you keep choosing to stay where God is speaking, even when it touches the sorest parts of your story. By now, something very important has begun to shift inside you. You are starting to see that becoming something much greater than you imagine is not a distant dream sitting far out in the future. It has already begun in the way you think, feel, and respond right now. You are noticing the old phrases that used to run unchecked in your mind. I'm always too much. I'm always not enough. Nothing ever truly changes for me. And catching them instead of automatically bowing to them. You are feeling the tension when you start to speak harshly to yourself, and you are a little quicker to pause, to breathe, to answer with something gentler. These may look like small details, but in heaven's eyes, they are the training ground of your greatness. This is where the everyday part of your calling becomes very real. It is not only about a big moment when everything shifts. It is about 1,000 quiet decisions that no one else sees. For example, when you wake up heavy, and your first instinct is to numb yourself with noise or scrolling, but instead, you take a few minutes to talk to God honestly about how you feel. That is you walking as the woman heaven is forming. When someone speaks to you in a way that used to crush you, and you feel the same pain rise, but choose not to agree with the old lie that you deserve it, that's part of your rise. When you are tempted to say yes out of guilt, but you know your body and soul are exhausted, and you gently say, I can't today, without hating yourself for it. That is you becoming greater, in a way that protects the heart God is building, not destroys it. As your friend, there is a truth you need to hold very close here. Heaven is not impressed with a version of you that does everything for everyone while dying slowly inside. That is not what greater means in God's kingdom. Greater means more healed, not more used. It means more aligned with His heart, not more trapped in people-pleasing. It means you learning to treat your own soul with the same dignity you have always tried to give to others. You have spent years pouring into people who never even asked how your heart was doing. Now God is saying, let me pour into you. Let me teach you how to walk in a way that honors what I am growing inside you. Think again about the women you have been walking with in this journey. Hannah, Ruth, Naomi, Esther, the Samaritan woman, the woman with the issue of blood, Mary Magdalene. None of them became greater in one dramatic second. There was a process. Hannah had years of tears before the promise. Ruth had many days of bending in the fields before redemption. Esther had days of fasting and fear before stepping into her moment. The Samaritan woman had one conversation that changed the direction of her days, and then she had to walk out that new identity in front of people who still remembered her old one. You are in that same pattern. Heaven has spoken, your heart has responded, and now you are in the holy middle, the part where the inside shifts before the outside fully shows it. If, as you take all this in, you feel both hopeful and tired, that is okay. You have every right to feel worn out. You have carried so much for so long. But let yourself notice something. Even tired, you are still reaching for God. Even unsure, you are still asking for the next part. Even wounded, you are allowing new words to land in the same places where old wounds were made. That is not nothing. That is evidence of the Spirit at work in you. You can talk to Him exactly from there. I like what I am hearing, but I am so tired. I want to become what you see, but I know I cannot build that by myself. You do not have to sound strong. You only have to be honest. Heaven knows how to take a tired yes and turn it into a powerful life. From here, this fifth moment becomes a place of intention. No one will be there to clap when you choose a kinder thought over a cruel one toward yourself. No one will see when you sit quietly with God instead of running from your feelings. No one will hear when you whisper, "Help me," in the middle of the night. But heaven sees. Heaven records. Heaven uses each of those moments as material to build the woman an angel has confirmed. One day, when you stand in a place you never thought you would, more at peace, more secure, more useful, more steady, you will look back at these hidden decisions and realize, this is where it started. In nights like this, in parts like this, in the middle of the journey, when no one else was watching, but God and you knew that something inside you had finally decided not to live small anymore. Chosen one. If you are here in this sixth moment, heaven is treating this as a very sacred place in your journey. You have allowed so much truth and tenderness to reach you that now it is time not only to comfort your heart, but to speak directly over your future. Until here, you have been listening. Now, heaven is inviting you to also speak, to let your own mouth agree with what God has been quietly building inside you. You may feel small, unprepared, or unsure, but that has never stopped God from using a daughter before. What matters now is not how strong you feel. What matters is that you are willing to repeat, even in a whisper, what heaven is saying about you. Right where you are, if you can, place a hand gently over your heart and breathe slowly. You do not need anyone to see you. This is between you, God, and the angelic witnesses that have walked with you through storms you survived without applause. In this moment, let your voice become part of this story. Even if you are shy, even if your voice trembles, even if you can only say these words softly, let them pass through your lips. There is a power in what you speak when your heart is open, especially after such a long journey of listening. These next sentences are not magic. They are alignment. They are you, as a grown woman, agreeing with what heaven has already decided about your destiny. Now, as your friend, let me walk you through 6 declarations. You can repeat them exactly or adapt them, but let them be real. Say them slowly. I decree that I am not defined by my worst day, my biggest mistake, or the harshest words that were ever spoken about me. I am defined by what God says about me, and He calls me chosen, loved, and still in process. I decree that my greatest days with God are not behind me. They are still ahead of me. I will not spend the rest of my life only remembering what I lost. I will also live to see things I never imagined I could experience in Him. I decree that my life is in God's hands, not in people's opinions. Their labels, their limits, and their expectations do not have the final say over who I become. Heaven's word over me is the highest word over my story. I decree that my heart will not stay broken forever. I am on a path of healing in my emotions, in my mind, and in my memories. What once controlled me will lose its power, and the places that hurt the most will become places of testimony. I decree that my life will serve and bless many people, even if I do not yet see how. My story, with all its pain and survival, will be used to bring comfort, hope, and light to others who feel like giving up. I decree that I am not walking alone. God's presence goes with me, and His angels surround my journey. I will be led, protected, and guided into every step of the future He has prepared for me. Take a moment and just breathe after saying this. Let the weight of your own words rest on your heart like a warm blanket. You did not just repeat phrases. You stood up, on the inside, in a way many people in your life never expected you to. You spoke over yourself instead of only listening to what others said. You agreed with heaven instead of automatically agreeing with fear. That is not small. That is the sound of the woman you are becoming. Over these declarations, let a gentle prophecy settle over your days. In the next season of your life, not in one dramatic second, but over days, weeks, and months, you will begin to notice signs that this word is alive. You will feel a new peace where there used to be only constant anxiety. Situations that always dragged you into the same emotional hole will begin to lose some of their grip. You will sense a quiet courage rising when you need to say no to what harms you and yes to what brings you closer to God's heart. Doors that once seemed permanently closed, conversations, opportunities, reconciliations, inner shifts, will open a little, enough for you to see that heaven is moving. It will not all be easy, but it will be different, because you will not be walking as a woman who expects nothing. You will be walking as a woman who has heard and answered. If in this moment your eyes are wet or your chest feels full, let that be your offering. You can whisper from that deep place inside, God, I receive these declarations. I know I cannot make them real by myself, but I am giving you my yes. Finish in me what you started. Don't let me shrink back to who I was before this. You do not need to sound impressive. You only need to be sincere. Heaven understands the language of your sighs, your tears, your pauses. From here on, every time you remember these words and choose to act in agreement with them, even in something small, you are walking further into the future, an angel confirmed over you. The woman who will become something much greater than she imagines is not a stranger to you anymore. She is already inside you, waking up, stretching, standing. And heaven, which has watched you for so long, is quietly rejoicing, because you are finally starting to see a glimpse of what it has seen in you all along. Chosen one, if you are here in this 7th moment, heaven is watching you with so much tenderness and admiration. You have not just listened to beautiful words, you have allowed them to work their way into places that were numb for a long time. You have looked at your past with more honesty. You have questioned old ceilings. You have repeated declarations over yourself, even while feeling tired and unsure. That alone already means you are walking differently than before. The woman who once accepted that this is all I'll ever be is now the woman who has heard herself say out loud, my greatest days with God are still ahead of me. That is not a small shift. That is a new posture. Now comes a very important part of this journey, learning how to walk differently in the same places. Your house will be the same. Your routine may look similar. The faces around you might not change immediately, but you are not returning to those places as the same woman. You are going back with new words planted in your heart, new awareness in your mind, and a new sense that heaven has its eyes on you. In the past, you might walk into a room and automatically shrink, apologizing with your presence, lowering your voice, agreeing with words that hurt you, just to keep the peace. From now on, little by little, you will notice that you cannot do that in the same way anymore. Something inside you will resist when you try to make yourself small again. Imagine yourself in a familiar scene, maybe at a family gathering, in a conversation with someone who usually triggers your old wounds, or alone at the end of the day when your thoughts used to spiral into self-blame. In those moments, the old narration will try to come back. There you go again, nothing really changed. But now there is another voice inside you, one that remembers everything you have walked through here. It remembers the angelic confirmation. It remembers the women whose stories God used to show you what is possible. It remembers the decrees you spoke in part 6. That voice will gently say, no, I am not the same. I may feel the same, but I am not the same. And if you choose to listen to that voice, even once, you are walking as the greater woman heaven has been talking about. As your friend, what needs to be said clearly is this. Do not despise small changes just because they do not look spectacular. The kingdom of God often moves in subtle, quiet ways at first. Maybe you will notice that, in a conversation that would usually end with you in tears, you manage to stay calmer and clearer. Maybe you will see that, when someone brings up your past, you feel a sting, but not the same crushing shame as before. Maybe you will realize that you are a bit quicker to say, God, help me, instead of collapsing into hopelessness. These are signs. They are like the first flowers after a long winter. Small, fragile, but very real. Heaven is not waiting for a big scene to celebrate your progress. It is already rejoicing over these little moments where you choose a new way. There will still be days when you feel like you failed, when you fall back into an old reaction, when you forget for a while what God has spoken about you. On those days, the enemy will try to say, "See, nothing changed. You are exactly the same." But you will know better now. You will know that the difference is not that you never stumble, it is that you no longer live on the floor. You get back up with more awareness, more humility, and more determination to keep walking. You can say to God, even on your worst days, "I did not do well today, but I am not giving up. I remember what you said about me, and I still want to become that woman." Heaven hears that and counts it as progress, not failure. If, as you picture going back into your daily life, you feel a mix of courage and fear, courage because you want to walk differently, fear because you know the environments you are returning to, that is completely natural. You do not have to be fearless to move forward. You only have to be willing. Right now, where you are, you can pray a simple, sincere prayer. God, when I step back into the same rooms and routines, walk in with me. Remind me of what you said. Help me remember that I am becoming more than I used to believe. Help me not to abandon myself again. You might also whisper, from a place of gratitude, for every quiet change you've already started in me. Valo Demai. That thank you, spoken in the middle of fear and hope, is one of the most beautiful sounds heaven can hear. From here, this seventh moment becomes a bridge between revelation and daily life. You are no longer just someone who heard a powerful message. You are someone who is learning to live it out, one choice at a time. Every time you walk into a familiar situation with a slightly different inner posture, more loved, more aware, more anchored in what God says, you are proving that the word over you is real. And slowly, those around you will begin to notice. They may not say it right away. Some may never find the right words, but they will sense it. She is not the same. And in that quiet recognition, your life will be silently shouting what your heart already knows. That an angel confirmed something over you, and you chose not to let it die in theory, but to walk it out with God in the very places that once convinced you you'd never change. Chosen one, if you are here at this eighth and final moment, heaven is looking at you with a deep, quiet pride. You did not just touch the surface of this message. You walked all the way through it, allowing God to speak into your story, your wounds, your ceilings, your fears, and your future. You started this journey wondering if a phrase like, "an angel," confirmed you will become something much greater than you imagine, could ever really be for you. Now, after everything you have heard and felt, you are not the same woman who began. You may still feel fragile, but you are no longer unaware. You have seen yourself through kinder eyes. You have heard yourself agree with heaven. That alone already marks a holy turning point in your life. Right now, imagine your whole journey here as a book open in front of God. Every page of your past, every paragraph of this process, every line of hope that was written tonight is visible to Him. He sees the moments when you almost stopped reading. He sees the parts where your chest tightened and you thought about running. He sees the places where tears came from so deep you did not even know the pain was still there. And He also sees the sparks, those little yeses you gave, the declarations you repeated, the quiet shifts in your thinking. Over that open book, He does not shake His head in disappointment. He smiles with the tenderness of someone who has waited a long time to have a conversation like this with you. This is where the message needs to become a seal over your heart, not just an echo in your memory. You are not leaving here with a vague idea that something good might happen someday. You are leaving with a clear truth written over your life. Heaven has spoken, and you have responded. An angelic confirmation was not sent for nothing. God has invested words, comfort, correction, and promise into you because He sees a future that is worth it. The woman who will become something much greater than she imagines. has already begun to stand up on the inside. You have heard it in your own voice when you decreed you are not defined by your worst day, when you said your greatest days are still ahead, when you admitted you do not want to abandon yourself anymore. As your friend, there is something very simple and very important to tell you here at the end. Do not treat what happened inside you as just emotion or just a nice message. This was a meeting. Not in a big building, not in front of a crowd, but in the secret place where the most important decisions of a life are made. On days when you feel like nothing really changed, look back and remember specific moments. A sentence that felt like it was written inside your chest. A memory that surfaced so it could be healed. A declaration that felt strange but right in your mouth. A quiet peace that came where there used to be only panic. Those are landmarks. They are places in your story where God can point and say, "Here she let me in. Here she chose not to live small anymore." Soon you will close this message and step back into your routines. The same house, the same responsibilities, the same faces, the same streets. But you are not stepping back as the same woman. You are going with new words planted deep in you. You are going with a different conversation running underneath your thoughts. You are going with a promise that is no longer a theory, but something you have wrestled with, cried over, and agreed with. There will still be hard days. There will still be moments when you feel like you are not moving. But from now on, every time you are tempted to say, "Nothing ever changes for me," you will remember that heaven spent all this time saying the opposite, and you will have the choice to answer, "No, I am becoming more than I used to believe. God said it. I said yes." If right now you feel gratitude rising in you, even if it is mixed with fatigue, questions, or gentle tears, do not silence it. Let it come. Put your hand over your heart if you can, and close your eyes for a moment. In your own words, talk to God about what this journey has meant. You might say something like, "Thank you for not skipping over me. Thank you for speaking to me in a way I could understand. I give you my past, my present, and my future again. Help me to walk as the woman you see when you look at me." And if from deep inside your chest that simple phrase wants to rise, the one that carries so much of your gratitude in just a few words, let it rise. For every time you protected me, for every word that reached me exactly when I needed it, for this new beginning, valo demise. Then, when you are ready, take a quiet step forward into your life. You do not need to announce to everyone what happened here. You do not need to prove anything. Let the proof be your walk. Let the proof be the way you treat yourself, the way you handle your heart, the way you stay close to God even on the boring, ordinary days. One day, weeks or months or years from now, you will look back and see that this was not just a night of pretty words. It was one of those hidden, holy nights where heaven and a chosen daughter sat down together and decided, once and for all, that her story would not end in smallness, but in a quiet, powerful greatness she never thought she could carry. But God always knew she would.